What's going on, everybody? Feder here from 3D Print SOS. Welcome back to the channel. Over the course of about a year, we have been experimenting with a Voxelab Aquila 3D printer and seeing what kind of different materials we can get it to print nearly stock, with the only upgrades being some tubing and a different nozzle. There's a bunch of videos on this channel with me experimenting with different PLA and PLA plus materials, nylon and nylon carbon fiber, PETG and PETG with carbon fiber, different TPU materials, wood material, even PVB material, and probably a bunch of others that I'm forgetting. But today we're going to try something a little bit different, where we are going to try printing with chocolate. A company called LuckyBot reached out to me and they sent me this. This is a chocolate extruder called the WiiBoox. Can't help but to giggle over the name. Either way, I've always wanted to try a do-it-yourself chocolate extruder. I always kind of had it in the back of my mind, using a syringe and some motors to extrude chocolate. But this does it all for you, and the quality of this, from what it looks like, at least on the internet when I took a look, looks awesome. I think for what it is, the price is correct, because everything that you need comes here in the box, obviously outside of the printer itself, and this could be adapted to a lot of different machines, including Ender 3 clones such as the Voxelab Aquila. I have here the Voxelab Aquila C2. This will be our donor machine. So we are going to be taking that, attaching the WiiBoox chocolate extruder to it, and we're going to be printing some chocolate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the box. We're going to see everything that comes with it. I'm going to quickly install it. From what it looks like, the install is somewhat simple, but you do have to take apart your machine. You have to completely remove the extruder. You have to get to the board and plug some things in. So you have to be comfortable with doing something like that. And then we'll learn how to use it, and we'll put some chocolate through the 3D printer. So not something that I thought I'd be saying anytime soon. So let's get it out on the table and let's get it started. All right, let's see what's in here. Alright, we got a little note. We have handwritten serial number, the QC date, production date, kind of cool. Tells you everything that's in there. Wow, okay, so everything's in little boxes. Alright, so the first thing I see in here is something called chocolate tube. Looks like there's 4 of them in this box. Really nice little packages. Then we have the WL wheel. This looks like it's the actual carriage that you install on the machine. We have another box of chocolate tubes. That's nice that there's so many of them. All right, here we have something called, oh, okay, it's the AC-DC adapter. And then we have the actual WiiBoox. There it is. All right, let's open this box. The packaging is very professional. All right, right on top here we have a manual. This says baking paper. I'm guessing this is something you can put down on the bed to print on. Wow, it's actually a lot heavier than I expected. Very nice looking unit. Looks like you just screw right into it. Looks like the connection should be really easy. Oh, okay, nice little magnetic door. It's very high quality. Looks like it's going to be powered with a NEMA style motor and a lead screw that just pushes down this plunger. I'm going to assume there's some kind of nozzles we can attach. Has a little LED screen with just a few buttons. Branding on the side. Yeah, nice quality piece. Let's see what else is in here. We have the accessory box. So this is the adapter that you would install on your existing printer, like a Ender, for example. There is the attachment point for an Ender style printer, but this is its own separate carriage. You actually mount the extruder much higher than normal, giving you some more space. Since this is so long, you're going to be losing quite a bit of space on the Z-axis. So if you wanted to retrofit this entire carriage, you can. At first, I think we're going to install it with the adapter, but then if this thing is all working really nicely, I'll just leave it on there and maybe even install permanently on this so we can have a chocolate printer. And looks like there is one more tube in the box here that's included in the main unit here. So here is everything that we need. Let's see what else is in the accessory box. Okay, so it looks like we have some nozzles. One has a number 18 on it. Okay, they both have a number 18 on it. And I'll look into this a little later. So we have a bunch of hardware that we're going to need, and then we have this little sensor. From what I understand, we're going to need to plug this little sensor in to trick the motherboard into thinking that the hot end is always on a certain temperature. Because we're not going to be using the actual hot end on the printer, we're going to be using this, and we don't want the printer to keep going into a safety mode and cutting out power. This is the line wire. It looks like this is going to be how everything gets plugged in. I'm assuming this barrel connector here is how it's going to receive power. This is how it's going to get plugged into the back here using this plug. So yeah, we'll see how all of this works using the instructions. So since the Z height will be so much higher with this installed, we're going to have to move the limit switch higher, and they give you a little extension. And this is an extension for a different type of printer. It looks like we will just be using this one. So let me get everything out. Let me get the printer up here, and then we will start with the assembly. One thing I forgot to unbox is the power adapter, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so it looks like the way it is going to work is actually using this splitter connector. So looks like we're going to be plugging in the printer itself and the separate power supply like this. So the current plug that's going to the printer is going to be plugged into here. Then this will be plugged into the printer, powering the printer itself. And this is going to connect into our barrel plug that's going to be supplying power to our WiiBoox. Very nice. Alright, so this is our donor machine. We are going to be using the Voxelab C2. Like I mentioned before, it is most likely standard Ender 3, so if you have one of those, this will definitely work all the same. One thing I do want to say is there aren't any installation instructions in here at all. In fact, you have to go to the website where it tells you in the manual, and you have to use your packing slip that it comes with. As you can see, I threw it away, but then I realized we need it. You're going to need your serial number, because the serial number, you put it in and it gives you individual instructions on how to use everything, how to install it. There's videos for everything, and it is significantly clearer than anything in here in this manual. So the first thing you definitely want to do is get yourself this packing list, go on the LuckyBot website, and definitely check out the installation videos and how-tos. So I'll speed through some of this, and then we'll go over how easy or how hard it was, and I'll give you my impressions with the installation. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so we have to take our little TRM wire. It's basically a way to just trick the thermistor into thinking that it's reading 130 or 160, whatever it is, degrees, just so that it doesn't try to heat the actual hot end, since we won't be using it. And this is going to receive external power for heating. So we're going to locate the thermistor. Okay, on this particular motherboard, they're labeled TB and TH. So we're looking for TH, that's thermistor hot end, not thermistor bed. So this should be plug and play. There we go, that's in. Now for the line in, line 10P integrated wire. This is going to actually use our extruder connector to tell this extruder how much to extrude, and there'll be a file on the SD card that we upload first that kind of changes the ESteps on the machine in order to work properly with this particular extruder. Okay, so here we have the E-axis adapter wire. So it looks like this is what we're going to be plugging in into our motherboard. It's clearly labeled. So let's find our extruder wire. Okay, here it is on the bottom. Hey, Future Fedder here. You are not supposed to install this extension cable on an Ender style machine, the same as a Voxelab style machine. They are meant for other machines. So it is just included here because this kit fits on a lot of different types of printers. So that's why this exists. So we are going to uninstall it from the E-axis like this, and then we're going to plug this directly in just like that. And now the extruder, the chocolate extruder, will be going in the correct orientation and in the correct direction. So we can just put this wiring tucked in just like that and put this all back how it should be. Let me just tuck things in nicely here so they're not in the way of each other. We definitely don't want the fan to be rubbing up on anything, on any wires or connectors. Let's see here, just like that. Let's put this where it goes. What I like to do with this cover is kind of like put it where it needs to go and just hold it nice and tight. All right, back to our original programming. All right, and while I'm down here, I'm going to undo our power supply here. This is the power supply that's included, and I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the barrel connector that comes with the machine here. And then while I'm down here on the bottom, I'm just going to connect our plug into this extender that we have just installed, just so it's easier once everything is flipped over and it's out of the way. I'll move it to the back here. All right, let's set the printer back. All right, so the other thing I'm just going to take care of right now is we're going to take our power supply, and I'm just going to go ahead and plug it in. I'm not turning anything on. And then I'm going to plug it into the machine. Once again, not turning anything on, but that will be ready and out of the way for me, so I don't have to worry about it later. There we go. We'll take this, which will be providing power to our machine, and I'll just hang it right over here out of the way. So now all that stuff is ready to go when I need it. Just make sure that your printer is off, or don't plug it in, whichever. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the glass over. I want the glass on the bare glass side and not on the texture side. We're not printing anything in plastic. I don't want anything sticking that well. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and unplug the Z-limit switch, and I'm going to remove it for now because we are going to have to move this thing up quite a lot. Here we go. That's the Z-limit switch. Just getting it out of the way for now. And I'll go ahead and plug in the wiring here, so it's ready to be extended and reinstalled. All right, now to the hot end. All right, those two screws, and now our hot end is off. Now let's move on to the extruder. Make sure you hold your extruder on the bottom while you're unscrewing from the top, because it will actually drop and you don't want it to hit the corner of your glass and kind of shatter everything. So there you go. That has been released. I'm going to unplug it, and then we can remove the extruder block and all of its hardware. So there you go. Now the entire hot end assembly can be moved out of the way. So the X-axis remains plugged. Same with the limit switch on the X-axis, because this is still going to be functioning. All right, so that mounts up really nicely, and it's of a nice construction as well. Nice solid aluminum piece. So let's go ahead and lift up the Z-axis manually. It's got to go quite a bit high to accommodate our WiiBoox. All right, that should be high enough. And then let's grab the hardware that it comes with. Very straightforward. Like I said, there's also videos of this. That's why I'm not zooming in. We're just doing this really quickly. All right, that is actually extremely solid. There's no movement there. So if you can only fit two, just like I can, not really a big deal. All right, so looks like we still get full movement from left to right of our X-axis here. I have to still install the nozzle, and the directions mentioned using the metal nozzle for chocolate and the plastic nozzle for everything else. They give you two of each. So here is our metal nozzle. You can attach it using a standard nozzle wrench that comes with a 3D printer. How convenient. All right, let's plug in our cable. All right, that's what we're going with. I just routed it through the extruder hole just to make it a little bit easier to wire manage this. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. That's out of the way. Looks like we should be able to zip tie it right here too, just to keep it out of the way. Let me grab a zip tie. And now that should be nice and neat. Okay, the next thing we're gonna have to do is reinstall the Z-limit switch, and I'm gonna do this nice and loose because we're gonna have to level it later. And I'll do it loosely now, and then we will go ahead and focus down on that and get it leveled correctly when it's time. So I'm just plugging in the cable, the extension cable. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna move the bed. We will bring it down so it touches the bed, which is right here, but then I'll bring it up just a hair right there, and that's where we'll leave it. And I'll move the switch up just until it clicks, and we will tighten it up. There we go. So when this thing will home, it will just come short of the bed, and then we can always use the wheels to adjust it exactly where we need it to go based on the instructions that we get from LuckyBot. Yeah, everything went together really easy. That was just minutes of assembly. Just make sure you disable everything that you need to. Refer to the videos when you need to. This isn't meant to be an installation video. I just wanted to show you guys real quick the little quirks in it, so that when you watch this thing, you could see at least what's involved in doing it. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to take our little mini morsels that we purchased here. I'm going to heat them up, and I'm going to put it into one of our tubes, just so I can bring it down here, and we can continue exploring on how to print chocolate on the Voxelab Aquila. Alright, I'll be right back. I wanted to show something really quickly here. I have off to the side the hot end assembly still on, the fan is blowing, and I actually used one of the stock hardware pieces just to put it into that hole hand tight. Not even all the way, just so that it sits up like this, and just in case for some reason something goes wrong and the hot end starts heating, that way you have your fan blowing onto the heatsink. As you see, I took off the PTFE tube. We won't be using it, but this can just sit here for now, out of the way, but just as a safety precaution, I'm going to leave my fan on just so that it sits here. Once again, you can completely remove this entire system, but I'm going to keep this here because I will eventually undo this from this particular machine. So if you are in the camp of having something not be permanent, that's just my temporary solution at the moment. The zip tie here is helping keep everything nice and organized up at the top here, and we are pretty much ready to get some chocolate into our chocolate extruder. So let me go ahead and grab that. Alright, so now that we got everything hooked up, it should be somewhat ready to go. Now what LuckyBot does is it gives you a G-code file that you can download from their website that you need to run before you run a print. And what that G-code specifically does is change your ESteps from what your original extruder runs, typically on a machine like this it's 93, to all the way up to 750. And there's lots of different ways to do this. One, you can run that G-code file before every time you print anything. Two, you can, if your printer can, go into the settings of your machine, go into the ESteps, and change it to 750 on your machine. Or you can hook up your machine to something like Octoprint or anything else that lets you hook up the machine to your computer, like Pronterface, for example, and you can put in the G-code to change your ESteps to 750. It's just easier to run the code, but however, we have on our machine here, we can go into the configuration, down to advanced settings, we can scroll down to steps, and then we can change our ESteps to 750. This is what I did. So just make sure you note what your stock configuration was. In my case, on this machine, it was 93. So I can always put it back to how it was originally. So there we go. We can just go back to the menu. And then there's one more thing to check. Actually, that cable we removed because of this specific thing. So if we open the door here on our LuckyBot, we can check which direction the extruder goes. So the way to do that is in your menus, go down to something like motion. It's not always going to be exactly the same as what's on this machine, but I'm going to move axis. I'm going to go to extruder. I'm going to change it to 10 millimeters. And we're going to move the extruder 10 millimeters plus in this case. And what we want to see is we want to see it move down. So plus on the printer should be squeezing this extruder. If that's moving in the reverse order, you need to plug in that that extension wire. Basically reverses the extruder motor so that it goes in reverse on some machines. In our case, that's why we didn't need it, because it moves in the right direction just by plugging in the cabling directly into our machine. So that's how we check. We went back to 0, it went back up. So that should be it for that, and we should be ready to go. So the next thing that we need to do is grab some chocolate. So I went and got some semi-sweet chocolate chips for baking, and I put them in a microwave in a safe dish for 15 seconds at a time, removing them, mixing them, microwaving, mixing them. That way the chocolate doesn't overcook. And once it got to a molten state, I just poured it into here, and it's been in here overnight now because it's the next day. So this is definitely fully, hardened chocolate. The way we put it in is we put it with the nozzle down, and it should slip right in there just like that. And then we can go ahead and close this. And then I'm just gonna get out of the menu so it goes back to home. All right, and the next thing is to turn on our WiiBoox, and we're gonna set the temperature to 35, which on their website they give you a bunch of different temperature ranges. I think that there's even temperature ranges in the manual, and for this particular chocolate, 35 degrees should be good. And you want it to get nice and hot in there. The chamber is heated, and what it does is it's going to heat this up and melt it all down. If that's not hot enough and that's not molten, well, guess what? We're not going to be able to print anything, right? So I'm going to assume, I haven't done this yet, this is all brand new, I'm going to assume that some chocolate is going to start oozing out of the bottom, and that's going to be one way we know that it is hot enough. But the second way is right on here, you get to see the temperature, and that's actually all that this does. When you turn this on, it gives you a temperature reading, and you can put it up or down, and this is just so you know what this is set to. The rest is taken care of by the printer, and that's why we plugged it in, so that we get power and an extruder. The other thing that we need to take care of is actually leveling, and that is one of the reasons why I set up this switch the way that I did. Looks like my table isn't quite even here, so don't mind this rocking. But the reason why I set this up the way it is to give us some space to do some leveling with the wheels. And we're going to do it completely manually. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to go to motion, and we are going to auto home and let the machine home itself. There we go. Now that we know that it's home, we need to disable the steppers. Disable steppers. There we go. Now we should be able to move it manually. So what we're going to do is just like a typical leveling. I'm going to move it over. Just go slow. Make sure you don't hit anything. And their directions say that you take a piece of paper, fold it in half, fold it in half again, essentially having a four sheet of paper height. And this is what we're going to use to do our leveling. There we go. So that should be good. I made sure to go around a few times. Let's see how the chocolate's doing. Okay, it's heating up a little bit. Let's keep it in there. We lost some temperature just by opening it, so keep it closed, let it get hot. So the next steps are to load up some files. We're going to clean everything while this is getting warmed up, and then we're going to see what it's like to print with it. I'm going to go ahead and make a profile for Cura. There are Cura instructions on how to set it up. Although the instructions are for a really old version of Cura, I'm still going to try the new one. I know it's not directly compatible according to them, but I'll just give it a go and see what it's like. So while this is getting up to temperature and melting my chocolate, I'm going to go and set up a profile and see if we can get ourselves an STL file on this SD card to get ourselves a chocolate print on our Voxelab Aquila. All right, I'll see you in a second. Okay, there's actually very little information about other people having any kind of success with a profile, so I tried my best to completely guess my way through a Cura profile. But I slice something, I put it on the SD card, and it's ready. So the first thing we need to do is, it's been on for about 30 minutes, which is what they recommend you preheat this to. I can kind of open up here and take a look, and it does look like everything is melting, and it does move when I squeeze it. So what I want to do is, I got some Tupperware and some paper towel. I mean, we're going to get messy here, okay, but let's try not to. So I'm going to put my little Tupperware underneath, and I'm going to hold down to see if I can get this thing to extrude. So let's see what happens. Alright, so it is extruding. I think I went a little bit too fast, and it's not like we have any kind of speed control, but that's a good sign. It's definitely extruding. I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to wait a little bit until it's done kind of, I guess, dripping as much as it's going to. I have a feeling it's not really. Alright, well, I don't think it's going to stop kind of seeping out, so in the interest of having the most material left in there for our print, let's just see what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and be ready to pull this out of the way. So we are going to select our print. Let's go to print from media, and I'm gonna find my file here. Let's see what happens. I have a feeling I have the speed of the print way too high. I stuck with 30 millimeters per second. It's definitely substantially over extruding. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here. Let's get that under it. All right, we'll keep it here. I'll try to get something up fast. Since the bed is cool, that's why, by the way, I switched it to the glass side. Once this chocolate cools down, it's going to be really easy to get up with a razor, for example. So I'm going to let that cool. I'm going to let this thing sit for a minute while I get some new settings on this file. 1 second. Oh boy. Oh boy, boy, boy. Oh, that was a disaster. Attempt 3. Alright, that's looking a bit more promising. I guess you should be able to tell what that is. And also, what else would I be printing? Come on, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you know what this is. Or, let me know in the comments below if you don't know what this is. What it's doing is it's kind of just like picking up the previous layer a bit. So I think the layer height needs to be even higher still. I never thought I'd be eating anything from my printer, I'll tell you that. I mean, interestingly enough, it is in the general shape of a boat. Also, plenty of chocolate left. Okay, so, alright, I think I'm going to cancel this print, and I'm going to just tweak some settings here. I think this needs a much higher infill. I think I need to slow it down for the infill quite a bit. Otherwise, I think our ESteps are correct. I think the layer height is actually quite good. I wish there was a way of cooling. Obviously, we could adapt something, but there definitely. I have a feeling that if the chocolate was cooled right as it came out of this nozzle, I think prints in general, like 3D prints, would be substantially easier. LuckyBot, if you're watching this, have you guys tested a cooling solution? I have a feeling that it would help. All right, round 4 or 5, lost track. But chocolate's good. All right, I'm gonna cancel this print. I have clearly ruined the profile. Hopefully, I can undo some things, but it is definitely printing like a hot mess. So let's try again. All right, take number 345. I'm just kidding. It's like 5. Let's go, Choco Benchy. All of the movements of the printer are correct. It's just the extrusion portion. All right. What I did for this one is I turned down the extrusion flow down to 40%. So quite dramatic. Just to see what it would do. If we can fix this with flow, that would be nice. All right. Again. Alright, now looks like we're getting somewhere. So far, this is the closest we've gotten to printing with chocolate on our Voxelab Aquila 3D printers, though. Let's see how it plays this next part here as it goes to the next layer. Alright, that's actually infill. Hilarious. We got a little air bubble there. We're definitely going to start to run out of chocolate very, very soon. Cool part is unlike filament, all of this chocolate can be melted back down. As long as you don't overcook the chocolate and go slowly, you should be able to melt it back down and pour it into a tube. And we're back to over extruding. Nope. Nope, not it again. Cancel. Nope. Alright, another day, another tube of chocolate that's been heating for 30 minutes. and it looks like that we are ready to print. Because I couldn't get it running, I ended up sending a message to LuckyBot, and they replied right away with a profile for Cura, and also pointing out that that profile was in the Cura download on their website. Once again, I didn't download it because it is an extremely old version of Cura, and I was just trying to bypass it for a new one. But the .ini file, the profile, actually did load into the brand new Cura, and I did slice the same benchy on our SD card right in the printer over here. So let's see if their profile can print one of these benchies, a Choco benchy. Alright, everything is actually printing really well. There's that one pivotal moment when it switches from the first layer to the second, where it tended to pool up a whole bunch of chocolate on my profile. So let's see if this does it. Let me bring you in. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we are looking at here. It is pooling a little bit, but definitely a little bit less than mine. So let's see how it handles this switch to the next layer. Alright, it did pool up a little bit just like mine. However, it is their profile. I'm going to go ahead and trust LuckyBot, and we are going to let this thing rip. So let's come back in a little while and see what it prints. Alright, I think we could safely say that's a mess. It's kind of just drooping down on the sides, and I wonder if some kind of active cooling would actually help. We do have this hot end running here with a fan. I wonder if giving this thing something a little bit simpler to print, but having this here would help. Why don't we give that a try? Why don't we? Well, on that slight disappointment, I think it's time to talk about the LuckyBot WiiBoox. Over the course of the past couple days, even with my unsuccessful chocolate printing, I think we can answer the question, can the Voxelab Aquila print chocolate? And the answer is yes. Can it do it well? Well, I think you need to spend a lot more time with something like this to hone in your specific chocolate for your specific need. Now, printing, 3D printing is its own thing, but I think 3D printing food, because this doesn't just do chocolate, this does food. You can do quite a bit, and I think it's a whole new world for this type of thing. It's a whole new extruder, it's a whole new thing, it's a whole new use for one of these machines. I really do think this becomes something completely different. Now, imagine you are a pastry chef and you want to make some cupcakes or cake for someone's special day, or you've been hired to do so. You could use this to make completely custom text for each cupcake, or text for a wedding cake, or that's just something like just coming up off the top of my head, but someone's logo for a company. If you took the time to, first of all, don't play the game on hard, play it on easy mode, upload their files, use their profile from the start. Don't spend days trying to manufacture your own for some reason like I did, mostly for fun, obviously. But if you use their documentation and you do as the directions say, you can hone in your specific chocolate, your specific material with this thing and get it going. It's going to take a little while, but I think once you get it all set up to the point where you can do drag and drop type prints with food, I think this could be a game changer for somebody in that field, or somebody that's just interested in doing that. Also, definitely use parchment paper. I printed right on glass, and there was no way I could take it off once that the chocolate cooled all the way down. When it was warm, I could take it all off, but when it cooled down, it would just crumble up and break. Use parchment paper like they have in all of their instructions. They even included some. I was just being hard-headed and didn't use it. With that said, I think it's just going to take some time, and time that I personally don't have to spend on extruding food. I think it's really cool, and I just want to thank LuckyBot for giving me the opportunity to even know that this genre exists and then experiment with it and to even show it to you guys. I do want to go over a couple things. One is the documentation for the LuckyBot WiiBoox is well, you know, it's all translated, so English could be broken in a lot of places, and finding everything online hidden behind kind of like a serial number, I think I understand why they did it, but if it's for the reason why I think, like for security, if they don't want people stealing their ideas, that type of thing, no one, it's not, you know, they're not stopping anybody from going on Amazon, for example, buying one of these things and then doing all that research anyway. So why hide it behind that level? It would be really nice for somebody even that's interested in one of these things to be able to get all of that stuff, download a PDF, look at the instructions first, check out those videos, you know, ahead of time. So LuckyBot, if you guys are listening, I think that those type of things shouldn't be hidden behind a serial number. I think you guys should just showcase more of that. Be proud of your instructions and your videos and all those tools that you have on your website. Just put them out so that everyone can kind of see what this thing is all about and what their experience would be like if they did go ahead and buy the unit. Speaking in the unit, starting from packaging all the way down to everything used here, from plastics to the little plugs to the magnets to the wiring, all of it is brilliantly done. I think they have an amazing product. I think the price is pretty fair. I think altogether with a inexpensive machine like this, it would cost a little over $300, let's say $350, $360 total with a printer to have a food extruder. You know, we haven't even used anything that would require the hot bed, but for example, you could technically make a pancake in this thing. You could even technically swap out the different colors of pancakes. You see where I'm getting at? Like, if you took the time to hone in your skills and abilities with this, just like you would with a brand new 3D printer, for example, I think this thing could be really, really cool. So, you know, with all of that said, is it for me? No. But like I mentioned, I think it's really cool, and I think at least some of you might be interested in something like this. So I think it was worth taking a look and going through it all. Now, with all of that said, all the nice things and everything, I do want to mention that I did notice while I was just looking for instructions on how to do some things, I did notice that not only was this a Kickstarter that was really successful actually, but some of the people from the Kickstarter still haven't gotten their rewards. And from somebody who has done several Kickstarters for different products of their own, I just want to say a friendly message to LuckyBot to please take care of those Kickstarter backers. They trusted you from the beginning before this product even existed. So before you ship any of these out to actual people that purchase these from you because they're already made, definitely take care of your Kickstarter backers. I think that's important for the entire company and for just people to have trust in your company. So that's just a little side note. But yeah, as far as this product goes, I think that if you're at all into anything culinary related and technology, I think this is a really neat combination of worlds, and it's just really fun. And now you know that you can install this on a Voxelab machine, you can install this on an Ender 3 clone, or you can install this on an Ender 3, and there's also a bunch of other machines that you can install this on right from the box. I think if I was to do this again, or have a machine like this permanently, I would definitely use their carriage. Having a little bit more space just gives you more opportunities to make cooler stuff. For example, imagine instead of me trying to print something extremely intricate for some reason for a first print, I could have done a vase mode print and just done something a little bit taller. That would have been interesting, kind of like a container of some sort that's made of chocolate. There's just a lot of possibilities, and I really like the idea. I don't think the execution was bad at all. It just takes some time to hone it in, kind of like if you would print a brand new material for the first time on your machine. You have to kind of like experiment with your profiles, make sure they're correct, especially if not a lot of this material has been used before. You'd have to do a bunch of your own kind of research and your own experimentation to get it to work. You know what I mean? So, alright guys, I think that's all for me. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this, what you think of the genre, what you think of the WiiBoox, and as always, I'll see you all in the comments. Later.